Every June, when you open a shopping app or walk into a mall, you probably notice the exact same thing. Suddenly, everything turns rainbow. The coffee cups, the sneakers, the t-shirts, even banks, beer brands, airlines, and shampoo companies suddenly look like they've become the LGBTQ plus community's absolute best friends. But then July rolls around, and it's like someone flipped a switch. All the rainbows vanish. It's as if none of it ever happened. Now look, the conversation today isn't about whether brands should be allowed to support Pride. The real question is, how did a month that started with protest, remembrance, and survival end up looking so much like a giant sales event? To really understand how we got here, we need to go back in time for a moment. Pride Month is in June because of what happened at the Stonewall Inn in New York back in 1969. Back then, police raids on gay bars were standard. But on that specific night, the people inside decided they'd finally had enough. What started as a spark that night erupted into days of protests. It became a definitive turning point for gay rights. 1 year later, people took to the streets again to commemorate that night. Over the decades, those original protest marches slowly evolved into the massive pride parades and global events we see today. So no, Pride didn't start as a marketing slogan. It didn't start as, hey, buy this rainbow t-shirt to show you're cool with gay people. It started with something much more revolutionary and much more basic. It was a community saying, we live here, we are not going to hide, and we won't go away just because we make you uncomfortable. And that is the massive disconnect we are looking at today. When most people hear the word Pride now, they instantly think of music festivals, rainbow flags, brand collaborations, and shopping. But at its absolute core, Pride belongs to a group of people who were forced into the shadows for a very long time, finally stepping into the light and saying, look at us, we exist. So, how did the rainbow gradually end up in the shopping cart? Well, one reason is simple. The rainbow is incredibly easy to market. It's bright, it's eye-catching, it's photogenic, and let's be honest, it feels a lot lighter than a heavy protest slogan. For a lot of brands, the rainbow is a massive shortcut. Almost overnight, a decades-old company can suddenly look younger, more diverse, and more progressive. Pride gets translated directly into corporate speak. Parades become sponsored corporate events. Slogans become ad copy. And flags become limited edition shoes and mugs. You buy a pair of Pride sneakers? The brand calls it support. You buy a rainbow mug? They call it love. You share their rainbow logo on social media? They call it inclusion. But here's where the real questions begin. If support can be turned into a product, who is actually profiting from it? If every single company can go rainbow for a month without facing any backlash, is there any real risk left? When a brand only shows up in June, are they actually supporting LGBTQ plus people? Or are they just protecting their own June sales numbers? There's actually a specific term for this exact phenomenon. Many people call it rainbow capitalism. It refers to companies and brands that appear LGBTQ plus friendly on the surface, but treat the community as a marketing strategy, a PR campaign, or a way to score easy moral points, rather than making a real, long-term commitment. So, how do we spot the difference between real solidarity and rainbow capitalism? Here is a simple 4-part checklist. First, does the brand only show up during the month of June? Second, do they stay by your side when LGBTQ plus issues become controversial or when there's a public backlash? Third, do they support their own LGBTQ plus employees, community charities, and actual policy changes throughout the entire year? Fourth, does any percentage of the money made from those Pride products actually and transparently find its way back to the community? If the answers are no, not really, or they vanish on July 1st, then let's call it what it is. It's not allyship. It's just using the rainbow as a seasonal aesthetic. And that is exactly what makes rainbow capitalism feel so uncomfortable. It doesn't openly oppose you. In fact, it might even hug you. But that hug only happens after they've turned who you are into something that can be packaged and sold. There's a specific pattern that plays out almost every single year. A massive brand drops a highly anticipated Pride campaign in June. It's got everything: vibrant rainbows, a diverse family, maybe a prominent trans model. On day one, the campaign sparks a massive wave of praise and instant backlash. At first, the company stands firm. They release a statement saying, "We won't pull this ad. We stand for diversity." But just a few days later, things start to quietly shift. In certain regions, the ad completely disappears. The rainbow window displays are quietly replaced with neutral colors, and the Pride collection vanishes from their website. To the corporate executives, this is just risk management. It's a calculated business move to balance looking inclusive with avoiding any real controversy. But for LGBTQ plus viewers, the experience is painfully real. Because on Monday, you're invited into the frame, and by Friday, you're taken off the shelf. It leaves you wondering, when a brand says, "You belong here," what do they actually mean? Do they mean you belong in our society, our cities, and our workplaces? Or do you just belong in their 30-second marketing campaign? Are they actually trying to build a genuinely inclusive world? Or just a world that looks diverse, as long as it doesn't hurt their bottom line? It's tempting to stop here and say, all corporate pride is fake. But reality is more complicated. If you listen to conversations inside the community, you'll hear a split feeling. Many people say they dislike rainbow capitalism, but if next year all brands stayed silent about pride, they wouldn't necessarily feel safer. Even shallow participation sends a signal. In some places, supporting LGBTQ+ people is no longer completely unspeakable. It can even be a mainstream stance with commercial value. For people who grew up hearing their identity as a joke or a slur, seeing a row of rainbow products openly displayed in a supermarket can feel deeply conflicted, partly being commodified and partly being acknowledged. So the question is not simply, brands out. A better question is, when brands turn pride into a campaign, are they opening space or occupying it? Are they amplifying community voices or speaking over them? In recent years, we've seen this exact pattern play out again and again. Brands launch high-profile pride products only to quickly pull them back the moment they face any political pressure or public backlash. And this has made a lot of people realize something important. The real test isn't whether a brand can slap a rainbow logo on their profile in June. The real test is whether they stay when the comment section turns toxic. As pride becomes a permanent fixture on corporate calendars, executives are no longer just asking, should we join in? Now, behind closed doors, they're asking, will this cost us customers in certain regions? Will this be weaponized against us by politicians? Will this divide our shareholders? Some brands are more than happy to stand loudly with pride when it's safe, profitable, and popular. But they retreat the absolute second the cost rises. And that sends a painfully clear message. You matter on our marketing pitch decks, but you don't matter enough for us to take a financial hit for you. So maybe the core issue we're facing today isn't just rainbow capitalism. It's conditional support. Support that is only offered in seasons of applause. Now we need to return to the people who actually matter. Because for a lot of LGBTQ+ viewers, the most precious part of pride isn't owning a limited edition hoodie. It's something much simpler. It's remembering, at least once a year, that their existence isn't a mistake. It's seeing people just like themselves out in public and online, instead of just in whispers and private group chats. And it's finding, or rebuilding, a sense of community, even if it feels small. In some situations, this experience rarely happens at a massive parade. Instead, it happens quietly. It happens when you see a colleague share a supportive post in a corporate work chat, and you silently wonder, what would happen if I shared it too? Or it happens at a family dinner, when someone starts talking about marriage and living a normal life, and you swallow your words along with a bite of food. For non-LGBTQ+ viewers, pride shouldn't just be viewed as, why do they have to be so loud? It's a powerful reminder that if a group of human beings has been told for decades to be quiet, polite, and invisible, the simple act of showing up together will always feel like too much to those who never had to fight for space. Ultimately, many people struggle to understand pride for one simple reason. They've never had to fight for the basic right to live an ordinary life as themselves. Because at the end of the day, if we treat pride as nothing more than a consumer choice, it's incredibly easy for it to get completely absorbed by market logic. The rainbow simply becomes a visual theme, a quarterly budget target, and something that can be turned on and off with a switch. But from a standpoint of human values, pride was never about selling more clothes. It was about creating more public space so that different kinds of families, different gender expressions, and different relationships could simply exist in the open, without fear of being pushed out. A truly healthy city isn't just one where store windows have more colorful displays. It's a city where our streets, our schools, our workplaces, and our family tables can make room for more than one version of a normal life. So when we look at pride and corporate involvement today, the real question we're asking is simple. We're asking whether this society is actually ready to make space for more than one way of living, or if we're just making room for one more marketing season. This video talked a lot about the business of rainbows. But what truly matters is this. Beyond all the corporate campaigns, the collaborations, and the marketing retreats, are you slowly learning to believe that you are not a product? That you are not just a talking point, but a whole person with a whole life? If pride can help you believe that, even just a little bit more, then it is still worth so much more than a seasonal sale. The rainbow can be printed on any product. But what pride really leaves us with is a question. When someone needs to be seen, will you stay a spectator, a consumer, or will you be someone who stands beside them?